Welcome to another episode of the New Labor Movement Show. I am one of your hosts, Troy.
I am still your other host, Ray. Good to see you guys. Good to see you.
Going over another week of local law, labor, and politics. So politics is the name of the
nationally, yes, I mean, local politics is, but you have to admit, we've had a very interesting week with nationally. We've had a debate and now we've had a COVID scare. So it's been very, very tumultuous, I think would be the accurate word, wouldn't you?
I think that would be an understatement. So for this part of it, let's take it piece by piece. We're going to go over the a recap of the debate that happened between the presidential candidates.
Of course.
Now, this is very hard to follow because during that entire, I don't know if I say debacle would be a good word, but in that entire ordeal.
It was, yeah, you know what, it was, I mean, God, it was like, listen, and everyone who knows me knows where I stand, but I have to admit, it was like it's like having two drunk uncles argue over the last piece of turkey. It was very rough to watch. I mean, don't get me wrong, you had some moments when they actually let each other speak where you could actually see it, but most of the time it was just, it was very hard to follow. It was very hard.
Listen, I was going back trying to recap and just write down the points. Like it was no points. It was like a constant ramble. But what I did find, I found this little clip that played on Facebook. It was a Now This clip, and they recapped the debate and they were going over, but they were fact checking on the debate. So they were fact checking one side, of course. So I guess we're gonna go over my best thought was to go over the pieces that they fact checked during that meeting.
By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it.
I think that's a simple, like, nonsense one. Bringing back Big. I didn't even know why he would claim that, though. He brought back Big Ten football. I think that was silly.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, some of them are so silly, and some of them are like, it's so funny that, some institutions are so willing to accept him, and if he puts one foot in or even mentions them, he loves them. And there are other ones where even if he does the majority of the pushing, they don't want to get like killed politically, so they say no. So do I think he brought back football? No. Do I think he set up an atmosphere where football could come back? Yes. So it's a little different.
Portland, the sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump.
I couldn't find anywhere where there was a statement where the Portland sheriff was like, I support Donald Trump. I mean, I think there may have been somewhere along the line he said that he appreciated the help that the president gave with the National Guard, but he definitely didn't say he supported him. So I would consider that accurate, that was a misstep or a lie.
Yeah, I mean, he's the embellishment king, and then the embellishments are so bad sometimes that people call him out on it for being a lie.
He wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, and there's 100 million people who have pre-existing conditions, and they'll be taken away as well.
The 100 million people is totally wrong. I don't know where you got that number.
You're looking to eliminate pre-existing condition protections. How many people would be affected? Whether that number is 133 million, or what if it's only 50 million? That's still a lot of people.
I agree. But I think that when the case is decided, the case will only affect the people, should only affect those on Obamacare. Now, granted, I think if that becomes precedent, then you could use that in other cases. I would have to imagine that there is going to be a new policy put on before that. I mean, he did write the executive order saying that he wants that any future policy that goes on that gets voted through should have people who have pre-existing conditions covered. Now, of course, the battle is always going to be over what's the medical definition on the policy that is pre-existing condition.
I don't even consider that the
under the
battle.
old way before Obamacare.
I don't even consider that the battle. I consider the battle is that executive order. To me, like I said, I believe it's theater, because you're writing out an executive order to try to protect the same thing that you're trying to take away. To me, is all like that's just for the.
Again, it's a little bit semantics, because again, he's trying to make Obamacare illegal because Obamacare works for some people and it really doesn't work for others. Now, our argument on the show has always been that you may think Obamacare is great. I think Obamacare is terrible.
What's
that being said, I don't think that what exactly. So listen, if I'm gonna, in other words, don't get rid of something horrible with nothing.
Right.
Because nothing is technically better than this horrible.
Right.
But you need, if you're gonna get rid of this thing that you feel is horrible, his words, not mine, right, then you need to come up with something that you can say, hey, listen, I got rid of this and I replaced it with this.
Yeah, exactly.
And he hasn't even replaced it with anything. So you know what I'm saying? So anyone who goes after him for saying that is 100% right.
The bigger problem that you have is that you're going to extinguish 180 million people with their private health care that they're very happy with.
That's simply not.
The Biden plan, as he says, I'm thinking, I would think the Biden plan would probably be similar to Obamacare.
It's Obamacare,
and Obamacare
with the government option.
Right. So, and I don't think that I think you can make the argument that eventually, if you have a government option that's not regulated, it will eventually replace private insurance, because a government option can accept the losses that private companies could not. But I don't think that on its face. I don't think on its face. I don't know. See, I'm more of a, you know what it is? I've always been, I think there's much better ways you could do it than have the government do it. Because all these other countries have done it, and they're all coming to the same conclusion that it's getting too expensive to cover all this stuff. Not to mention the United States, you can't, my main objection to it is you cannot finance something that's going to be that much on debt.
But that's even worse.
You know what I'm saying?
If I have a government option and there's a private option still running, and your fear is that my government option is going to outpace your private option, then that means the problem is not, oh, the government is running so poorly. That means if I can outpace yours, I'm doing better business than you.
No, that's not what's happening. Because here's the deal. Say you have a government option. The government option is, all right, we're going to take, make imaginary number. We'll say everyone's going to pay, since it's the government option, it's going to be funded by the government. We'll say they want to keep it low so everyone can get on it. We're going to make it like $5,000 a year. And now they run it for a full year. They collect their $5,000 from everybody, and they're like $200 billion in the hole. For whatever reason, they can write that off because they're the government and still charge $5,000 the next year, just debt finance it. Whereas if you're a regular insurance company, you cannot suffer a loss like that and continue with the same product. And what will happen is eventually, as the government option is so expansive, meaning that it can keep accepting the losses, and another insurance company goes under, and another goes under, and another goes under, everyone will just go under that. So basically, everyone will just be under, Medicaid or Medicare or some hybrid of that. That runs at a negative all the time.
You know what the option to that is, though? If the government plan is running and they run at, say, a deficit, and the other private insurance companies can't do it, the only other way that the private insurance companies are able to compete and not do that is to deny people coverage, which means somebody needs medical care and I'm going to deny them. So most likely they're going to die. And that's how I keep my business running.
Well, listen, there's only two ways you can cut. There's only two ways you can cut medical. Either you're going to cut benefits, or there's in any free market system. There's only two ways to account for cost. You have to either offer less or charge more. It's just there's no third option when it comes to a free market. In other words, it's either you offer less or charge more. That's it.
That's why I believe the profit motive should be moved out of the medical period.
They said it would take a miracle to bring back manufacturing. I brought back 700,000 jobs.
So he didn't bring back 700,000 like he said, but it says that there were 483,000 manufacturing jobs had been added under Trump.
Well, he did a better job than Biden and Obama. Under Biden and Obama, they lost. They ran losses all their years. He did not bring back 700 something. I know there was when you go on the other side, you can look at a metric that says in the future it could go up to that, but to me that's semantics. And if you're going by the hard numbers, he probably brought back roughly 500,000 jobs.
Yeah, that's what it says right here.
It's not. Also, I don't know about 700 something. No.
Also, I don't know about that claim you made about the loss under the previous administration. I believe it was manufacturing jobs brought back under that administration as well. It might not have been 483 at that time, but it progressively got more as the years went by.
The 200,000 people that have died on his watch.
And if you were here, it wouldn't be 200, it would be 2 million people because you were very late on the draw. You didn't want me to ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban
All right, gentlemen.
Europe.
That's not true. That's an outright lie. He called, yeah, God, they're very smart at this. I'm not gonna lie to you. He said he was on the record saying that he thought travel bans were un-American.
Wait, now
he did not mention China by name. So
before you go too far,
he did not mention China by name, but again.
No, before you go too far, on the fact check, unless they're wrong, it says on April 3rd, Biden's team told CNN science supported this ban, meaning science said that the ban that he was putting in place should be done. Therefore, he did too. And again,
sure,
Trump restricted travel.
Trump did it on, I think, January 30th, and on January 30th, Biden thought it was a bad idea. He may have along the way said, you know what, hey, this was a good thing. And to the 2 million, it was, the models on this have been really up and down. The initial model was we were going to lose anywhere from 2 to 3 million Americans.
Yeah, that's just a shot off the hip. Yes. No. That 2 million number is just all predictions.
No, I'm not saying that. Listen, that was the best guess at that point.
His own former spokesperson said, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said that.
She said that.
It was.
No, they didn't.
It was.
No, they didn't.
Kellyanne Conway said it.
No, the exact quote was, with the violence, it makes the choice clear between the two. Read it.
From Kellyanne Conway.
If you want, you can read anything. You can read anything into a quote you want to read. But 100,000%, that was not what the quote was intended or meant.
I could tell. I know, but
you can listen.
What was said, though,
you'll see it's very, very different. She was not condoning violence, nor would she. Nor did she say it would help her. She said that with all the violence going around, it makes the choice clearer.
So what the quote was, she said, the more chaos and anarchy and vandalism and violence reigns, the better it is.
Get the whole quote.
The better it is for the very clear choice. The better it is for the very clear choice on who's best on public safety and law and order. Correct.
Thank you.
So, right.
That does not mean
that is semantic.
When you read that right,
that is semantic.
See what I'm saying? Listen, listen. That's the thing about these people. They all play it. It's just a matter of, like, they don't realize that what they do is they got 75 lawyers in a room and they change and to the, and then all of a sudden it's a now, I didn't say that. I mean, it's very semantical.
Correct. But you know what though? And this is what I don't understand, because you can always go through it, and if you pull back and look at this stuff, you can pull up the bullshit from the real stuff. If people choose to go back and look at it.
No, you know what it is? I think you know what the problem is, Troy? The average person isn't going to be like me and you. They're not going to look at all these and then go the one step. They're just, oh my God, 33 lies he told. And then when you actually read some of the 33 lies, like, Trump said I would be here at 9:00 and I got there at 9:05. That's a misleading statement, and vice versa. It's like, come on.
Right.
Because most people, they did a poll somewhere where it's an exorbitant amount. I think if I remember correctly, somewhere over 70% of people, they read the headline but don't read the article.
Absolutely. I know that. I see it on Facebook every day.
Every day. I can't tell you how many times people come at me with nonsense, and I go down to like the 4th paragraph and I take out a piece and I put it up there. I said, do you mean this? And they're like, where'd you get that? I'm like, the article you posted. They're like this. You know what I'm saying? Listen.
Take a look at what happened in Virginia and other places. They're not losing 2%, 1%, which, by the way, is too much. An election could be won or lost with that. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud.
That's not true either. See, widespread voter fraud. I guess you want to know what my biggest concerns are about that? I mean, I guess fraud, actually someone voting for someone else is, that's out there, but I think that's only one level of the problem. I do think that you're going to have, if you come down to like a state that like Pennsylvania has 10,000 people in it, and you mail live ballots out, and then there's a potential for some stuff to go wrong. Lord knows, we just had 100,000 ballots in New York City that were wrongly printed, where the person it was like one address on the ballot, another address on the return envelope. So, think about it. That's, 100,000 in a mostly Democratic state is it a huge thing in principle? Absolutely. But it's not like those 100,000 votes are going to cause Trump to lose New York. But in a place like, say, Pennsylvania, Arizona, key battleground states where the vote is, Wisconsin, Minnesota, 100,000 votes is a big deal. Can't have these kind of errors. And I think the fact that all of this is happening, we're trying to stress test everything during an election, and a hotly contested election, it's just bad. It's just asking for trouble, and
but
it's going to go things in court, and it's just going to be.
I would tell
anyone.
The thing I have a problem with, you keep saying voter fraud, but there is no evidence of voter fraud. It hasn't been for all the elections. It's states that mail out ballots, even in like the mass ballot, where I don't agree with either. It should be request and get all the time, and there's no evidence of voter fraud. It's like 0.0025% they're saying evidence of voter fraud. What there is mistakes as far as the process and stuff getting lost. Now, because this is wait.
The fraud is I apologize. When people think of fraud, they think of you voting for me or me voting for you.
Right.
But
the problem that's actually happening,
where the real fraud is, and if you look at the cases, is in when they do ballot harvesting. I really think ballot harvesting should be illegal in all the states, but it's legal in many states.
All that stuff to me is it's no, not just to me. That stuff is
what happened.
That stuff is minor when it's taken in the context of voter fraud. What actually happens is flaws in the system where ballots may be they're not processed properly. And that's something I believe could have been fixed if you'd have taken the money that they asked for and invested into fixing the issues that they have. There was no real voter fraud. They're trying to use mistakes and say that they're fraud, and then instead of investing in fixing the mistakes.
I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against Big Pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%.
You know, if anything with this president, if he wants to get something done, no one's going to tell him that he's not going to do it. So if you kind of
no, but he's definitely put it up. It's been floated a couple of times. They just mentioned for whatever reason, and I think we know the reason.
Light on
it. He has put a light on it, but
no. I mean, he's light on it. If it's something that he wanted to get done, like okay, this is getting done, nobody would have told him otherwise. If it's something that he would have liked,
no.
Done,
I think what's happening is I think what happens is like in all these things, it's a horse trade. They tell him, listen, we can't. You want, in other words, you back off on this, and we can get you this. And it's obvious his priorities have been on other things that are higher than this. So, but
you gotta think about
this,
it with things like trade, where nobody in his party wanted him to take on China with the trade deals. He didn't care what anybody say. He wanted to do that, and he made it happen. So I think it's the same
here's
thing.
The thing.
His priority is.
No, that's priorities are definitely a part of it, 100%. The other thing is there are certain things he has more power over. Like with China, he's allowed to set up tariffs based on he's the president, and he can write executive orders based on national security issues. Mm-hmm. Tariffs happen to be things he can use as national security. Passing something to lower drug prices or letting people shop outside is something that only Congress can do. He could. I don't believe legally he has any recourse except getting Congress to pass it. Yeah, it's like the whole thing with immigration. He would love to go tough on immigration. He can't.
The only thing was Congress was for it.
Congress was for it
for putting in laws in order to lower drug prices. The Senate might not have been, and I think he has the power to push the Senate in the direction he wants to.
No, I don't think so. I think there are certain things, like I said, I think I think he has to use his political capital where he can use it. Between you and me, I don't think. I think he'd love to get it lowered, but I don't think that's the hill he wants to die on. I think there's other things he'd rather get through.
Right. That's what I said. It's priorities. Because honestly, if anything 100%. He wants to get done, he's going to push the Senate in the direction he wants it.
And I'll respectfully disagree with you on that. I think you can push them so far. It's just that right now, drug prices the people who vote Republican and the people who are in power Republican, that doesn't, drug prices don't move them one way or another.
Not a focus, right?
Drug prices don't move really either side, this way or that way. There are you can't raise money on it. You can't really hold someone accountable to it. It's really that. Unfortunately, that's a really tough position because the problem is most people in this country, 90% of people are covered by medical anyway. So drug prices aren't a huge issue. They are to very certain people, obviously, but most people, they get it from their pharmacist. They get covered by their job and they live with it. You know what I'm saying? It's not a huge thing.
Are you not worried about the disease issues, sir? We have a lot of people.
Well, so far, we have had no problem whatsoever. It's outside. That's a big difference, according to the experts.
They tell you should wear a mask. You don't want to, you're an adult. It's a free choice. No one is putting those people at risk against their will.
And I think that's 100% right, that people have the choice to be able to do that. I think what people are more concerned about it is he's the president and he sets an example for people. So when he does stuff like not wear a mask, and it made it a political issue when it should have just been science. And I think that's what You're supposed to be the person that's the role model, quote unquote, whether you want to be it or not. That role model, people want to see you try to do things that's going to help.
Listen, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, to me, do I think if he wore masks, more people would wear masks? But I still think that there'd be a ton of people who would not wear masks.
Yeah.
Because there's a tons of people who follow him who do wear masks. Mm-hmm. So when they say, "Oh, he's I think it's a lot of hype about nothing, because at the end of the day, everyone's an adult. Everyone makes their own decision. I mean,
yeah. But if he wore masks and he made a point of it, the people that wouldn't would be, I believe that would be a very small number.
I want crystal clean water and air. I want beautiful clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally.
I love clean air. I love good water, clean water. I love good water, clean water. I want the perfect, immaculate air.
I watched that part too, and it was a little bit. I don't think he does anything directly to, like, he does not. He's not. I don't think he wants to pollute water, but his EPA has been up and down. It's been good on killing regulations in the sense that let businesses grow, but it's been kind of tough. It's been lacking a little bit on enforcement. Yeah,
the thing they talked about here is, you said we were like number 1 in the country and we're 26. And the bad part where they were looking at 100 regulations put in by the previous administration that will roll back, that would add to how much we pollute in the environment. So
I mean, a lot of those, I saw some of the ones that they were referring to, and just because the previous administration put them in, a lot of what the previous administration did, and what previous administrations, both Democratic and Republican, do, it's kind of a way of trying to control how people can use even their own land. And I'm against that. Obviously, I want to conserve energy, and I want us to move away from fossil fuels at a reasonable rate. And I think most people do. I think the Republicans that has been probably their biggest eyesore so far. I mean, if there wasn't COVID, that's where they would be attacked on that. I mean, they don't even have something like plant trees. You don't realize if the Republicans just put in their national platform, we're going to plant trees.
You love this plant tree.
That would be enough. Even that would be a step in the right direction to say, listen, we're trying. But they don't even say that. So the Republicans 100% have been bad on the environment.
All right, so that has been another episode of the New Labor Movement Show. I am one of your hosts, Troy.
I am the other host, Ray.
And we are signing out.